Hello! In this video I'm going to show you how to make a simple studio lighting setup with 3D Max and VRay. First of all, we need to set up our gamma. Go to Customize, Preferences and the Gamma tab. Enable the gamma correction and change the gamma value to 2.2. Check the effect color selectors and material editor and change input gamma to 2.2 as well. Press OK. Now we need to set up VRay. Open the rendering setup, assign VRay as the renderer. OK. Go to the next tab. Let's start by enabling the built-in frame buffer. Change the image sampler to adaptive DMC. Disable the anti-aliasing filter for now. And reduce the max subdivs value. We will be making some test rendering, so the speed is more important than quality. Change the color mapping type to exponential and enable subpixel mapping. Change the gamma to 2.2. That's okay for now. Let's make the background for our studio. Make a cylinder like this. Something like 2 meters in radius and 3 meters high. Three meters, not 3 centimeters. Reduce the height segments and increase the sides for a smoother result. Now convert the cylinder to editable poly. Select the upper polygon and delete it. Select the bottom. Inset it. The value is not important. Press OK. And collapse. Great. Now select one of these edges on the corner here and loop the selection. We want to round this part, so press chamfer, increase the chamfer amount and increase the segments. This will give us a nice rounded corner. Something like this. Press OK. Now delete 1/2 of the cylinder. Okay, looks good. Just need to flip it. Right now the normals are facing the wrong way. Great, now that's fixed. One more thing, we need to get rid of the faceting over here. To do that, select all the polygons and go to the smoothing groups tab, press clear all and auto smooth. As you see, everything is nice and smooth now. Let's make a camera. We are using VRay Physical Cam for better results. Change the focal length to something like 35 millimeters. Press render. As you can see, it's quite dark. We need to reduce the shutter speed to make a brighter image. Let's try 10. Looks okay. Now let's make a simple VRay material for our background. Change the diffuse color to very light gray. We don't want to use pure white, as that will not make an accurate rendering. Something like 230 is okay. Give it some light reflections, blur them by reducing the glossiness value, and enable Fresnel. Great. Now drag and drop the material on the cylinder. Press render, and here's the result. As you can see, there is a weird pinkish tint on the image, so we need to change the color balance of the VRay camera. Select the camera and change the white balance to neutral. Render again, and you can see it's nice and gray now. Now we need something to render. How about a teapot? Make a large teapot over here. Increase the segments to make a smoother result. Like this. And let's make a simple material for the teapot. Make a VRay material, change the diffuse to darker gray, and give it some reflections as well. Blur them a little bit. Something like gray plastic. Drag and drop it on the teapot. Press render, and as you see, we have our teapot. Okay, let's set up the lights. Choose VRay light. Make sure it's set to plane type and draw a light like this. Leave all the values as they are and position the light so it points toward the teapot. Maybe bring it a little closer. Press render again. Now we have some shadows. And some light reflections as well. As you can see, the shadow areas are very dark. The VRay is using only the direct light and not reflected lighting. First of all, let's make the image a bit brighter by reducing the shutter speed to 1/6 of a second. Okay. And now let's enable the Indirect Illumination in VRay settings. Go to the Render Setup, VRay tab, and Indirect Illumination. First of all, enable Indirect Illumination, set the Irradiance map as your primary engine and Light Cache as the secondary engine. Change the Irradiance map preset to very low. Enable calculation phase so we can see the progress on the VRay frame buffer, and disable multipass. Reduce the light cache subdivs to 200. These are very low settings for test renderings. Enable the show calculation phase. Great. Press render. Now the rendering takes a longer time, but the result is much more realistic. You can already see the dark areas are much lighter, the VRay is calculating the reflected lighting, and overall the look is much more natural. Let's make our Teapot material something more interesting. for example brushed metal. Change the diffuse value to very dark, like 2. Press OK. Increase the reflections. Disable Fresnel. And increase the glossiness a little bit. Something like 0.8. Let's see how it looks. You can see the rendering is taking a longer time now because the blurred reflections are taking a long time to calculate. Okay, this looks pretty good, but I want some more highlights from the right side. Let's make another VRay light. Let's make this thinner and taller, like this. Position it somewhere on the right side of the teapot. You might need to experiment with the position to get the highlights you like. Okay, you can see a nice bright highlight over here. Let's move on. I'll show you a trick how to use the alpha channel to composite the background later in the Photoshop. To do that, we need to render our image so that the background is not included in the alpha channel. If you press the alpha channel button right now, you can see everything is white. This doesn't work for us, so select the background cylinder, right click, and go to VRay properties. Change the alpha contribution value to -1. If you render the image now, you will notice that the alpha channel has changed. Press the alpha channel button and you can see that it is just a teapot now. If you save this image as a PNG or TIFF with alpha channel, you can access this information later in Photoshop. I'm going to use the PNG format. You can also use TIFF and probably some others. Okay, select the PNG and make sure it's set to 48-bit and enable alpha channel. Press OK. Let's now open up our image in Photoshop. As you can see, the background is now transparent. If you make a new layer beneath the teapot, you can fill it with whatever you like. For example, a color, or a gradient, or use an image or whatever. This works fine if you want to have the teapot just floating there. But if you want some nice shadows, you will need to use a different approach. Some shots don't need the shadows and this works, but it does look like the teapot is floating in the air. Go back to the 3D Max, change the VRay properties of the cylinder back like they were before. And now we're going to set up another material to render out the shadows. Press on the VRay material and select VRay material wrapper. Choose Keep Old Material as Submaterial. These are the VRay material wrapper settings. Enable the matte surface. Check shadows, effect alpha. And let's test how it looks. As you can see, the background is not rendered anymore, but it is still used for reflections and lighting calculation. Change to alpha channel and you can see it's all white. To fix this we need to change the alpha contribution to -1. Render again. Preview the alpha channel. Looks okay. If you wish to exclude the global illumination from the alpha channel, change the GI amount to 0. This will give us some sharper shadows. Right now you can see only the shadows from the VRay lights are used in the alpha channel. Okay, let's save the image. Use PNG format again. And open it up into Photoshop. You can see now we have some transparent shadows over here. Make a new layer and you can fill it with whatever you like. For example, a gradient like this. You can see the shadows are there. It looks much more realistic. You can change the color, use an image, whatever you like. The shadows are still there. Okay. That's pretty much it. Now you can set up higher quality settings for the final render and render out the image. I'm going to change the material back to what it was. Cut the base material and paste it into this slot. Now let's increase the render settings to get a higher quality image. Change the size to something larger. Enable anti-aliasing filter. I like to use Mitchell-Netravali. Now increase the max subdues of the DMC sampler. Change the radiance map preset to medium. Increase the light cache subdues. Decrease the noise threshold to get a smoother render. Increase the minimum samples and let's use a larger multiplier for global subdues. Press render and wait. And this is our final image. Looks pretty decent. You can delete the teapot and merge whatever objects you want rendered into the scene and just press render. I hope you found this tutorial useful and thank you for watching.